All right, what's up, guys? We are back with another podcast episode. This one I think is going to be pretty fun. We've got some news and updates regarding PermaGrit, HexGrit, some stuff about the paddles, but also related to the durability of grit. PPA juniors soon have to only use UPA-A approved paddles. And then one of our main topics is going to be DUPR reset, which seems to have put the entire pickleball community up in flames, understandably so, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we've got a bunch of paddles to unpack, like the Luzz Pro Blade, the enhanced EPP Turbo, Aireo Cyclone, Carbon TruFoam Barrage, and the Kosmos. It's going to be a pretty good one. So let's get right into it. First, we got a question of the week. What do you got?
All right. Question of the week this week is, does height in pickleball really matter as much as people say it does for doubles? Now, something new I want to try. Let this question brew for a little bit. Think it over. We're going to discuss our thoughts. Obviously, I imagine we're going to have pretty varying opinions on this one.
I got thoughts.
We're gonna discuss this at the end of the pod, so stay tuned to the end to find out what our opinions on this topic are.
All right.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. So first piece of news that you had was about Chris Haworth's new serve. I might have seen a little bit of this, but I didn't. I think I noticed it watching the match, but I'm curious if it's what I think it actually is. So what was this?
Man was going straight, Happy Gilmore, just running to the line to hit his serve. And I want to say, I'm not 100% certain, but I think it was Mesa last year when Anna Leigh did the same thing. I could be very wrong on that. It might not have been Mesa.
I do remember her doing that
but
at one point.
It was like big news back then too. She was like just charging the line, running and hitting it. That was like the only, maybe she did that for like one or two tournaments and stopped doing it. But dude, let me tell you, Haworth was ripping the ball. I mean, it was insane. The days of, just get your serve in, Colin Johns, floated in there, long gone, because that was ridiculous. I mean, especially for singles.
Your serve in singles.
Your serve is so important in singles. People's returns are too good. If you just float a serve in there, you might as well just have given up the point.
Yeah, starting on defense. I mean, for singles or doubles, but I think it is probably a little bit more important in singles than it is in doubles, even though I think it is really important in doubles. So I'm curious to see if we see him doing it at the next tournament, or if it's kind of like Anna Leigh, where it's like, you know what, I tried it. It wasn't really that much better.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's going to catch on. I mean, Anna Leigh really seems to be the pioneer of not trick serves, but just like
unconventional.
That's the perfect word. Unconventional serves. It's like, okay, but why? I mean, we see her do it against a lot of the early rounds, the people that, she could probably beat with one eye closed and a hand tied behind her back. So I'm curious if she'd ever do it like in a finals.
Yeah, right.
Some of these weird serves. I mean, she's done it like later in the round, like I want to say like quarters. It backfired against Jack Sock at the Masters with the lob serve. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. Haworth's starting to rip his serve more. I mean, Onsen's always been a really big server. Starting to see people, I feel like, actually put more time and effort into practicing serves, because for the longest time, I really don't feel like it's been a thing that people have put much thought or effort behind. Obviously, Roscoe, he's always had a bomb of a serve. When I was at the Masters and on his bench for all of his matches, pretty much every singles match he'd have at least, he'd get 6 to 8 points just off his serve.
That had to have been early rounds. No way he's getting that in like a semifinal.
I mean, that's against Grayson Golden. That was against Connor Garnett. I mean, these are like quarterfinal rounds that he's getting points off his serves. I mean,
there's just no reason to not practice serves. Even last year for Chasing 5-0, like for at least a week, I was drilling serves just because there's no reason to not. It's the one shot you have literally every piece of control over. If you could imagine in the middle of a match, like you could activate an ultimate ability like a video game and say, hey, this dink or this chest high, shoulder high ball, you can do whatever you want with it. It's literally going to sit here.
You can grab it, put it in the exact spot you want it to be. It's not going to move, and just hit it however you want.
Yeah, everyone will be like, that's awesome. And then when it comes to serve, people are like,
yep.
I don't think people do that as much these days. I do think people know the serve is important, but I think it's still one of those things that it's like you could usually do more with it.
My personal opinion is I think it's one of those things that you shouldn't be afraid of missing. If you miss, it's fine. Okay. Yeah. Like my personal is like never miss in the net.
Yeah.
If I miss long, okay, you went for it. You missing the net, that's the worst. I mean, honestly, for any shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people need to go for their serves a little bit more and don't be afraid of missing. So I thought that was really interesting.
And also, I think you could just set a number, right? If you're in a doubles match and you missed literally 3 of your serves in 3 side outs, okay, yeah, probably time to dial it back a little bit. 3 is like pretty excessive. But if you're missing 1 or 2 over the entire course of a match or a game, I don't think that's the end of the world, especially if your serve was actually big enough to net you like better setups.
Especially in doubles.
Yeah.
You've got 2 serves anyways.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
So
next up, Ben and Anna Leigh, they lost in the mixed final,
This
and
is
it was not
crazy.
even close.
yeah, they got smoked. I mean, that was the most shocking, surprising thing. I mean, Hayden and Anna Bright have been knocking on the door for a while now, been getting close, but for a blowout like that, somebody was having a bad day.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ben wasn't looking that great in the early rounds either. He was playing, I want to say, Emma Nelson, and the first game they were down 8-0.
Wow.
So, and I heard from Emma that Anna Leigh and Lee Waters were like yelling at Ben, like, you better get your crap together, man.
Sure.
They ended up winning like 11-8, which is crazy.
Well,
But
he said, okay, I'll wake up.
yeah. So it's crazy. But, you know, the big takeaway for me is huge props to Hayden and Anna Bright. I mean, I love watching Hayden. He's one of my favorite players.
Dude, he's just so fast.
Unbelievably entertaining to watch. It's crazy what that guy can do to the ball. So, just incredible. My opinion, and I talked about this with Eric Tice and one of the writers from The Dink, I personally believe Ben's number 1 in the world. There's, in my mind, no question about that.
I think Gabe is number 1 in the world right now, isn't he?
Yeah, but when we're talking about like actual
I know what
skill-wise, I personally believe Ben's number 1. Gabe is technically, I'd put him at number 2. For sure, without a doubt in my mind, Hayden is number 3, and sometimes he moves up past Gabe to number 2. Like in Mesa, there was nobody better at that tournament then.
It just seems like Hayden can have like very high highs, but he can't always maintain that level for the entire time. Where a lot of times it feels like Ben is just more like even
Very
throughout
steady,
the match.
for
Like
sure.
It's not going to be this peak.
I personally think Hayden will be the next long-term number 1.
I could see it. I mean, he's playing incredibly well.
It's crazy how good he is. So yeah, that's my
question is how for the next one are Ben and Anna Leigh going to make a huge adjustment and just 3 sweep them the next time they see?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, there's no one in pickleball better at making adjustments against specific teams than Ben and Anna Leigh.
Yeah.
And coming up with a game plan to win. And clearly, they were too slow.
Yeah, for that one.
In Mesa, but typically, like I said, against Emma, is down 0-8 and then just instantly came back 11 straight. You know, it's like
Ben said walking out of that match, how close should we make it? Should we give him 9, 10?
Make it entertaining this time.
Yeah. So
It's just insane.
pretty nuts. But congrats to Hayden and Anna Bright. I think
That's
pretty sick.
huge.
So, all right, next up, Babolat Jet Mach 4s. So I'm going to let you talk about these. I did get these as well, and I did try them yesterday. But honestly, I don't think I'm that picky about shoes. Like, yes, I could tell you when I really don't like a shoe or when I really like a shoe, but you're clearly a little bit more picky with shoes or have like preferences with them. So it's probably just better that you talk about them.
Yeah, for sure. I've been playing with these a bunch now. I've probably got, 7 play sessions with these, maybe 8 now, a bunch of drill sessions. These are very nice. I'm very picky. You're right. I'm very picky about shoes. The weight is very important. How it fits my weird shaped feet. They're pretty wide. I have pretty sensitive feet. I get plantar fasciitis pretty easily from shoes. Jet Mach 3s have been my all-time favorite shoe for a while. I love those shoes. They are not the most durable. I go through them super quickly. Like I've worn through them in 2.5, 3 weeks if I'm training for a tournament. And right here on the side where my pinky toe is will just rip and my foot will bust out the side of the shoe all the time. These have been incredible. I would venture to say that these are probably my new number 1.
Oh, wow.
Like I love how these shoes fit.
Sure.
I think they've beefed up the upper and the side of the shoe. Typically already by this time, I'm noticing a decent amount of wear on the toe box. on the upper, especially on the pinky toe side of my foot. Looks like they've added some type of. And now, keep in mind, guys, I'm not Zach the foot doctor out here. Okay, so I'm speaking off the cuff here. I don't know details and technicals about all this, so take everything I say with a grain of salt.
And if you want the real info, just go watch Zach the Foot Doctor.
Exactly. He has
literally the best.
Yeah, he has a review on these shoes. I've watched it. It's incredible. Guy's a genius. So, but yeah, I really I think they've beefed up the durability a bit without making them a lot heavier, which is really important for me. Like I said, I really value lightweight shoes. Like, it is so important to me. Anytime I put on like a heavier shoe, like the Winner's Edge shoes, I just feel so slow. They're just so tanky. Durability is great, but I value being quick over durability. And the outsole rubber on these is by far my favorite. This is okay. I'm sure I'm gonna catch some flack for this. I'm gonna put this down real quick. I'm sure I'm gonna catch some flack for this, but I don't care. Something I really like about a new shoe that is so beyond pointless, but for some reason I just really like it, is when a shoe has a nice squeak.
I did notice that about these.
These are, and same thing with Jet Machs. Very, very squeaky shoes, which I don't know what it is about it. I just kind of like it.
I mean, I like it too.
And there's not a shoe on the market besides Jet Machs that I can slide better in. Jet Mach 3s and the new Jet Mach 4s. I slide perfectly, brand new, the perfect amount of slide with these shoes. So there's just, I don't know, there's not a thing about this I don't like. It locks my heel really well without using a runner's knot. The new tongue design is really nice. It wraps around the top of my foot very comfortably. I seriously have not found a single thing about this shoe I don't like. And the all red is pretty sweet.
It does look nice.
I like this color quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know you haven't really spent a lot of time playing in these yet, but from the probably 8-ish play sessions I've had these on my feet, these will definitely be my new tournament shoes. Like, I really, really like these shoes.
Solid.
So yeah, this would be my number one recommendation at the moment, and these will be the shoes I wear moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, with the Jet Mach 3s and how popular they were in pickleball, I'm not really surprised if this also catches a lot of popularity. Seems like the Jet Mach shoe was just, I mean, so many people wear it.
I mean, it's just one of the greatest court shoes of all time, whether you're playing tennis or pickleball or whatever. If you're on a hard court surface, Jet Machs are just the best.
Now, while I said I don't really care about shoes and I don't really know anything about shoes, I am going to say one thing. I haven't talked about these yet. This shoe right here, this is the Revolt Pro 5.0. I actually just learned this morning that they have a Revolt 5.0 and a Pro 5.0.
Okay.
I'm wearing the Pro 5.0 because I'm a pro, obviously. I'm so good at pickleball.
How'd that pro qualifier
Hey,
go?
don't worry about it. I wasn't wearing the shoe. I didn't have the shoe yet. I probably would have made it to the main draw if I had the shoe.
That's fair.
Okay, the only thing I'm going to say about this is I have worn... honestly, I'm not that picky. I can wear a lot of different court shoes, though I will say probably my favorite court shoes so far have been the Revolt 4.0 and 4.5. I just really liked how snug those were on my feet. And I think I noticed that on the 5, they must have like lengthened the shoe a tiny bit because I got the same exact size, 9.5, and there's just more room for my toe up top, which I actually like less. Like the old ones, it literally felt like, not that my foot didn't have anywhere to move where it's too tight, but it was like just the right amount to where I was like, my foot does not move at all, and I feel very fast in the shoe. And I noticed with this, that it's a little longer. So I'm going to see if I can get maybe a size down and see if it goes back to how I used to prefer. But the only reason I bring this up is because my very first court shoe ever was the Revolt 3.5 when I was a 3.5. And every single time that Head has released the newer model, the 4.0, then I became a 4.0. The 4.5s, I became a 4.5. And now that the 5s are finally here, I might be able to be a 5.0. If I can't, look, here's the thing. If I can't become a 5.0 this year with this shoe, it's never going to happen.
Just remember the other side bet.
I'm aware. 5.0 by 30.
5.0 by 30. But you got till June.
I'm just saying, if I get to 5.0 wearing this shoe, Head is about to get the best ringing free endorsement they could have ever asked for.
And then
from
you're
me.
going to be on your hands and knees begging them to make a 5.5 or a 6.0 shoe.
100% I will. 100% I will. This is like, seriously, it has happened every time they've released a shoe. So I'm like, okay, well, now that this is finally here, maybe that's why I didn't hit it last year.
Oh, that is so funny.
I just, when I connected those dots the couple times, I was like, wait a minute, that's crazy.
Also, before we move on real quick, I don't know if this is confirmed, but just from my eye and feeling on the Jet Mocs, it looks like they made the toe box like a little bit more squared off and wider, which is probably why I like it so much. I've been leaning towards a lot wider shoes as of recent because I think I'm realizing I have much wider feet than I thought. So
Sure.
Just random thought before we moved on.
Yeah. All right, next up, let's talk about just a few quick paddle updates. So I want to talk about the Spartus P1. I want to talk about the one that I've been testing because I finally crossed 100 games on mine after I played in the PPA Mesa, Arizona tournament. When I reviewed it, I had 84 games, but I want to get everything to at least 100. And then I also want to talk about some edge guard stuff because I feel like I've seen so many edge guard issues.
I get this message a lot.
So, okay, first of all, original RPMs when I got the paddle, 2,044. Then after 84 games, it dropped to 2,017. And now that I have crossed 100 games, I'm at 1959 RPM. So that is a 4.16% drop, if my math was correct, from brand new. And usually by this point, raw carbon fiber is about 15 to 20% drop.
Typically, I would say, for me personally, I don't really start to notice a big feel and difference with spin until it's about a 300 RPM difference.
Yeah. I also think people are, and we talked about this a little bit. I don't think we talked about it on last week's pod. I think we talked about it just like with John and off air. Maybe we talked about it a little bit. But as you're losing spin, a lot of times you don't really notice it until you've hit, probably around that 300 range, I would say, because you just keep adjusting slowly, right? Like you miss a shot and you don't immediately go, man, I've lost a bunch of spin, because usually, it's a slow decline. Like maybe after a week on raw carbon fiber, you lost 50. Then after another week, you lost 100. Whatever the actual number is going to be different for everyone. You just keep adjusting a little bit.
But it's not like
swing.
You don't hit one shot and there goes 80 RPMs and now it's a massive difference,
Exactly.
right? Like it's such a small gradual wear down that, you're constantly adjusting and not noticing that big of a difference until you grab a new paddle.
And when you grab the new one, you're like, oh my gosh. Like,
it's
okay.
way different.
Yeah, you can tell there's a big difference. So, all that to say, usually there's a bigger drop at this point with raw carbon fiber, but I'm starting to see a decline. We haven't quite hit 100 RPM, though it's pretty close to 100 RPM drop at this point. What's interesting, though, is surface roughness really isn't changing. Let me grab mine.
Yours looks like it's been to Nam and back. I mean, this thing has gone to war.
Yeah, and we'll even put up a video in case you guys can't see this very well. I took a little video clip, and that'll be important when we get to this next paddle. But I mean, it just has scratch marks out the wazoo. Like I would say even worse than probably what I see on a lot of my raw carbon fiber paddles. Like the center of my paddle just looks absolutely mauled. But then when I run the grit test on it, it's basically remained the same. So when I see these RPM numbers dropping, obviously there's some human variance, right? That can always be a variable within this. But I've also been testing some other paddles when I bring out to go do some of these RPM tests, and the RPM results have been consistent on those other paddles. So I'm like, okay, this is clearly dropping a little bit. And then maybe if you want to attribute some human variance in there, sure, go ahead. That's just the reality of this test.
The human variance could go either way. You could have a good serve, it could go up. You could have a bad one, it goes down. So it's like, just because I've been around you doing it so much, I've seen how consistent you are at it. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to me. Like, I think because friction was a talking point about this paddle having more friction than probably some of the other paddles, what I think is interesting is that the thought of doing something heavily friction based, maybe like a Proton Nanotac, is even with that paddle, I recall seeing complaints that was like in really humid weather or in cold weather,
moisture,
people would lose a lot. Or if sweat got on the paddle face, people would lose a ton of spin. They would lose a lot of friction. So I'm wondering if there are any environments that are dropping the friction a little bit, or if whatever is creating the friction on this is starting to wear down. While maybe the grit isn't going down, maybe the friction has gone down a little bit in some way, and maybe that's why I'm seeing the drop on this. So I'm very curious, if I took this to Florida and did it on a really humid morning, would the spin be a lot worse?
Right.
I just don't know. There's not really an answer for that yet, but I think that's one reason that you can't just do a purely friction-based paddle is because there's so many different climates that people play pickleball in. But yeah, it's just interesting that surface roughness hasn't gone down, but I am starting to see RPMs go down.
People are probably getting tired of me saying this, but it is continuing to just impress with how well it's holding up.
But it's interesting. So let me see, make sure I covered everything. Yeah, so pretty much got everything on that one. So we can,
edge guard.
Let's get to the edge guard, and then we'll come back to the surface roughness and how it's holding up, which is definitely impressive. A 4% drop over 100 games.
I've been getting messages about edge guards being loose on the P1 a lot. And somebody had told me that they had gotten a brand new P1, pulled it out of the plastic, and the edge guard was loose.
Yeah, I think I saw one of those in my Discord.
And I was like, this is crazy. I mean, we have 2 units, technically 3, but at the time we were only using 2. I had at the time probably put 15 games on mine. I don't know how many games you had on yours, and nothing, no issues.
Yep.
And then recently I played with my P1 again and then let a buddy hit it, and then I realized near the handle, the edge guard did start to come loose. So it did happen to one of our units.
And yours is like quite loose. It's not like a little jiggle. It's like if I
can pull it off.
Yeah, like I could probably rip it off if I just yanked a little harder.
And we did notice that our brand new one was slightly loose.
Yeah.
No games on it. It's brand new.
Yep. So, and if you look through my Discord, there's been a lot of them. You've obviously gotten some messages. I even put a little thing on the YouTube community posts, which don't get as much reach, but I tried to talk about it a little bit. It's just that, hey, look, if loose edge guards are something that bother you, obviously they'll warranty it just like every company does, but warranting it is annoying. You shouldn't have to warranty an edge guard so quickly.
It would definitely frustrate me. Sure.
Even same thing with the boomstick. They were like, hey, this will be fine. Don't worry about it. After my review, I was like, hey, it's loose. A lot of loose boomstick edge guards still, like everywhere. Yeah. And what's interesting about that, the dots I started connecting a little bit, is Infinigrit applied in the US, Permagrit applied in the US. So I'm very curious because I'm sure what's happening, I don't know this for a fact. I'm making an assumption here, so disclaimer there. But I have to imagine that the edge guard is not applied before they coat the face. Otherwise, you'd get some on the edge guard unless they wrapped the edge guard with something, which maybe, but that seems less efficient. Spray the whole face, and then I wonder if the bonding, whatever adhesive they're using to Infinigrit from the edge guard and then for Permagrit, I wonder if it just doesn't bond that well to these textures, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, with how many I'm starting to see come loose on the P1, there are some people who haven't had issues. Mine is still seems to be going pretty well.
I mean, I haven't seen more cases with P1s than boomsticks, but
There's also way more boomsticks in the wild, though.
That's true. But I've seen more severe cases with P1s than boomsticks.
Yeah.
Most boomsticks come loose where the MOI weights are and the top of the paddle, and you can kind of pull it off, and it's pretty bad, right? But I mean, we've seen pictures and other stuff of people posting the entire edge guard being ripped off their paddle, right? So it's like, I haven't seen a boomstick with the edge guard completely removed.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you wanted to, I'm sure somebody could just rip it off.
Yeah.
But
I think what's so unfortunate is, a thing that hasn't been a problem for a long time, for the most part, there are still some brands that struggle with it occasionally, but generally speaking,
it was fixed.
Edge guards were fixed. Like, you go back a year ago, fixed. And then if you went back 4 years ago, edge guards were a massive issue.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that was like the issue back in the day.
Yeah.
With like Gen 1s, a lot of the Engages, those ones had really bad edge guard issues. The Franklin Signature had edge guard issues. So it was like, that was the problem.
And now we have long lasting grit, but we don't have edge guards that last.
But what would you rather have? Would you rather have grit that wears out fast, or would you rather have loose edge guards?
But the thing is, they're both problematic because you both have to sit. If you lose your grit, that sucks. But if you lose the edge guard, you're not wearing down the grit anymore because you get a new one.
On one hand, one paddle in my mind is playable. On one hand, the other's not.
Both of them aren't playable. Smooth grit and a loose edge guard. No one wants to play with a loose edge guard. The paddle plays terrible.
No grit, unplayable. Loose edge guard, I've played with plenty of paddles with loose.
The boomstick that our middle brother Patrick plays with,
he prefers that.
Yeah, but it's horrible. Neither you or I would ever pick that boomstick. Of course,
you and I would not. But there are certain paddles where it's more severe and problematic than others. I'll say that.
To me, I think it's both they're both bad things, but
I'm
I get what you're saying.
I'm not trying to like argue for like, oh, you shouldn't care about loose edge. You definitely should. It's a problem, and it's actually quite disappointing. But if I had to pick between the two, I'm going loose edge guard over no grit. I'd at least be able to compete in a game.
I mean, you can always glue it yourself, I suppose.
Well, there is that. You can't put on new spray grit.
Yes. So anyways, just keep posted on that, guys. As we see more, we'll let you guys know. But if you were kind of on the fence, like, hey, should I pick this one? Should I not pick this one? You might just want to hold off for now until they get that fixed, unless you're just like, you know what, I don't care. I can just warranty it. But in my eyes, if I was seeing a lot of edge guards loose, then I probably wouldn't want to just go and pick that up and then gamble it.
Yeah, right.
So, all right, let's talk about the next one, which is the Vapor Power 2. So something I decided to do since I had extra Vapor Power 2s is I had a friend who was going to buy one, and I said, hey, I will give you one of mine for free as long as you track your games for me and let me rerun numbers on it. Because I would love to, it's just going to be really hard for me to, with this year, there's going to be so many new long-lasting textures. So for me to go past 100 games on every paddle is going to be difficult. Some of them I probably will. Like if I keep using my Spartus P1 and the edge guard doesn't come loose, because that's one of my favorites right now, then yeah, I could probably get that to 200 games, but 300 plus, it's probably going to be a stretch. So having someone else do it, while it's not the same as me breaking it down, it's just another data point. So I would consider it less of like a hard data point from me and more just like, hey, here's supplementary info. So he just recently hit 100 games equivalent on his, and brand new, it was 2122 RPM, which is about the same range as when mine was brand new. I want to say mine was like maybe 2140 something. And then after 100 games equivalent, and just to be clear, I'm still the one running the spin test. I'm not having these people run the spin test. It's still me. Dropped to 2108. So only a 14 RPM drop after 100 games, which is really impressive. I mean, that's ridiculous. And the surface roughness was about the same as when I did it. So mine was about a 4.4 surface roughness drop, if I recall correctly, and his was 5 point something, either 5% on the dot or maybe like 5.3. I can't remember exactly. So very similar roughness drop there, nothing too crazy, which is awesome. So HexGrit is also doing great. Now, the big question for all of these long-lasting grits, and we talked about this a little bit last week with John, is like, okay, are some of these grits going to be really good up to, I don't know, let's say 100, 150 games, and then have like a steep decline right after? And are some going to have maybe a steeper decline initially, but then have a really long life after that baseline gets hit? We don't know right now. But either way, a 14 RPM drop after 100 games is ridiculous. I mean, my Loco went from 2,000 something to like the high 1600s, and that's like, you don't want to play with that anymore.
That's rough.
So huge props to HexGrit. That is really great. I'm going to keep having him track because like I said, I don't know how possible it'll be for me to get up into the higher numbers, and maybe we'll see at 200. There's a bigger drop. Maybe it's still the same. I don't know. But what's even crazy, I think I have it. I'll have another video for you to pop up on the pod, but I'll hold this just in case for some reason that doesn't work. What's crazy to me is my Spartus P1 looks completely mauled, and this Vapor Power 2 has like no marks on it. Like very, very small marks here or there, but for the most part looks, compared to the Spartus P1, looks basically brand new.
A lot better.
Yeah, so it looks way better compared to that. And even touching it, like I don't notice any areas that feel considerably smoother, like on raw carbon fiber. So I don't know. Very, very impressed with how this is doing. There's a chance this ends up being, of the ones currently, that this ends up being the strongest, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
And then, you know, everyone always keeps asking, what about the other ones? Boomstick is next. I'm just trying to get through this Joola Pro 5 review, and then I'm probably going to grind 100 games as fast as I can on the Boomstick and see where that gets. But it's definitely on my radar. Just, you know, a lot of wear and tear on the body. Okay. Next up, we've got the Nick Kyrgios paddle sighting. So Vulcan, they're back.
Is Vulcan back?
Is Vulcan back? I mean, they were never really anywhere, even when I got into pickleball. So maybe it's just the birth of Vulcan.
They had the ball. That was their big
that was
thing.
Their claim to fame. So we don't have these yet. These are on the way. Hopefully have them pretty soon. My understanding is it is, some variant of a foam paddle, and then
That's what I saw.
they collaborated with Nick on the elongated version, but what that really means, we don't know yet. Like, was it, hey, I just like this shape?
No, look, it's just a matter of give me the thing that's closest to a tennis racket. Oh, an elongated paddle. Okay, sure, put my name on it.
Yeah, right.
If you think Nick Kyrgios actually knows anything or cares in the slightest about pickleball, you're joking me.
I mean, it does seem like he enjoys pickleball, but I don't think he's got any design prowess under him.
None. I believe he enjoys it, right? But there's no chance he has any interest or the time to sit down and discuss designing
Paddle tech.
a paddle. Yeah, right. It just doesn't interest him. Now, I will say, just get it out there, Nick Kyrgios is one of my all-time favorite tennis players. Growing up, it was like the tail end of Roger's career. Then it was like Nick Kyrgios was the ultimate, most entertaining, my favorite.
I mean, he is definitely one of the most entertaining.
So I would love for this paddle to be good, but we'll see. We'll see. Now it's the second to the Vapor to be UPA only approved.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not USAP approved.
I'm glad you brought that up. I actually forgot about that.
So
Very curious to see the texture on it.
I'm sure at some point we're gonna see Nick play with Jack Sock.
I would love to see it.
Dude, the day that happens, I got to go to that PPA. I have to be there.
That would be the one to go to.
That will be. I don't care how late it's announced. I'm booking a flight and I'm going to that tournament. Now, look, there's not many people on this planet that I like. I don't give a rip about celebrities and getting excited to see people or asking for pictures. There's not a single like PPA pro that'd be like, hey, can I take a picture with you? Mm-hmm. Right? Unless they're like my friends and we're just taking a group picture or something. Nick Kyrgios is one of those people on the planet that I'd be like, look, I need a picture.
All right. You heard it here. Icicle fangirl for Nick.
I will.
So yeah, those paddles will be coming. We'll keep you guys updated. I'm very curious to see them, see how they hold up, how they play. But we'll let you guys know.
Anyways, moving on. This one's cool.
Yeah. So, wow. Cool. Interesting is probably more what I would call it. So PPA junior and seniors, as of August 30th, 2026, this year, they will be mandated to play with UPA-A approved only paddles. Go ahead.
I was going to say, my thing with this is, why wasn't it already?
Why would it be? What makes you say it should have been?
If this is going, I personally think at the very beginning of when UPA, its inception, UPA-A for paddle certification camera, I get it was only intended for the pros, and it's not big enough yet to cover the wide, broad audience of amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
Too difficult to do that. At this point, it's established enough. There's enough market of paddles that are UPA approved. My personal belief is there should be no USAP approved paddles for amateur or any events at a PPA. But I think it should be UPA only.
The options would just be so limited.
Well, I mean, it can be dual certified, but
yeah, that's still limited.
Yeah.
See, but my problem with it, this is the one thing that I'm like, they kept saying up and down, pros only, pros only, pros only, pros only.
No, but they had said that they were going to expand at some point. It was not like we'll never ever do anything but
early
pros.
On, they were like, when everyone was throwing a tantrum, it was like, hey, pros only. We don't care about amateurs. We don't want to do nothing there. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I think if you're gonna run these events and you want to have like proper control over paddles, sure, that makes sense. But to say, no, we don't care about that, and then eventually change it, this is part of the problem of what I think manufacturers who are on the fence had a problem with, is this type of stuff happening. Personally, I don't think I really care either way.
Wait, but why is it such a problem?
Because, well, the problem at the time was that no one believed in what they were doing. Now people believe more in what they're doing, so I think there's less of a problem. But
that's what I'm saying. Is
to me, they're going back on their word with that.
Now it's established enough that it's not a problem, and there's enough paddle companies that are doing it, and the cost has come down. It was pretty extreme at the very beginning. It has come down. It's still very expensive. Don't get me wrong. But personally, if you're going to run your own events and stuff, I don't know. I like for the junior side, and especially if it's going to be senior pros, I feel like you should be using UPA approved paddles, right? Like, I don't know. It just seems odd that it wasn't.
I think Yeah, I mean, I think they just had to roll it out slowly. Otherwise, people would have been more. If this had come out immediately, people would have been more upset right away because there would have been less options. I think that the problem I have with it is not that I maybe care that you want to govern your own thing. Whatever, go for it. Do it. It's your business. You run the events. Go for it. But the video that I just made talking about USAP versus UPA-A, the problem is just that it's going to make it so much more confusing for people who are not die-hard paddle nerds to know, hey, I got to be playing with some of these paddles. You know, I think it's good, at least for the juniors, that they gave this like big runway. You have till August. That's a long time to figure out and know what paddle is approved. But I'm just imagining if this eventually rolls out to all amateurs, one, that'll just be frustrating if you're an amateur and you're like, hey, I like this USAP paddle, but I can't use this over here. Or I like this UPA approved paddle, but I can't use it over here. Like Vapor Power 2, can't go play an APP with it. There's not a lot of paddles currently because PPA allows for the amateurs to use USAP, but I think it's just going to get more confusing, and I think that's what frustrates me. Like, I just wish these two governing bodies could get along, which is probably never going to happen.
I mean, no, that's ridiculous. That would never ever happen. But my here's my argument though, and I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here. I'm not saying I'm for one side or the other. I'm just throwing things out there. That's like, no, this is going to be a terrible analogy. I'm tired. Okay.
Okay.
But imagine going to a restaurant where forks are banned and being like, but I like forks. I want to use this fork, but I want to go to this restaurant. Sorry, you can't. Go to a different restaurant. Like, okay, if you want to play a PPA, sorry, got to use these paddles. That's the rules. I don't see an issue with that.
I think the problem is just because it's never been how pickleball functions, so it's just more confusing.
But if you are someone who is into pickleball enough to sign up and pay and play in a PPA, come on.
So what if
you probably know?
What if you are a tennis player that comes over, you like competing, you buy a paddle because your friends are like, hey, this is pretty good, you should buy this. And then you find out about a PPA tournament and you go and you're like, oh, I'm not allowed to use this paddle here.
Took some bad advice. Should have done your own research.
Yeah, but you're not going to be like, oh, I bet I can't just use this paddle. Like, that's never been a thing. So to me, it's just confusion.
It is in other sports.
Yeah, I know it's like softball, but should it be that way?
Softball.
It was less confusing the other way.
Yeah, sure. It might be less confusing, but people just need to do their due diligence. I don't think it should have to be training wheels for everyone and make it as simple and easy as possible. Like,
so why not make it as complicated
would
as possible?
Would that be nice? Okay, but that's silly. That's like, okay, let's make everything in life as hard as possible. When you get out of bed, you need to jump over a fire and a bed of nails and this. Like, no, it doesn't need to be.
But why make it easy for everyone? Jump over the bed of nails.
It doesn't need to be training wheels for everybody and be like, okay, we're going to make it really soft and easy, guys. Like, this is just how sports are.
So what if we had a third governing body?
Okay, if a third wants to try, go for it.
But we're just making it more complicated.
Okay.
So, but why make it more complicated?
I just don't think I don't think everyone needs to get along and everything needs to work together.
So what if we had 10?
Okay, there's 10.
That's terrible for the sport.
Okay, but how effective are 10 governing bodies actually going to be? There's going to be 8 that probably no one cares about and means nothing because there's not going to be 10 different competing tours and organizations that could possibly function in the same time equally together.
Okay. So
that would make probably 8 governing bodies completely irrelevant that no one even cares about, and 2 that are somewhat relevant, which is what we have now.
But
I just don't think it's that big of a problem.
Maybe it's not, but I think it is unnecessarily confusing when it doesn't need to be.
Okay, so what's your solution?
We merged the two. They need to learn to get along and merge the two.
Literally never happened.
Sure,
they want to shoot each other.
Well, yeah, but so did MLP and PPA, and look how that ended up.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I think making it more complicated for...
Both sides look at each other as incompetent.
I know, which is also ridiculous, because both of them have their issues. I do think UPA-A has gotten... In terms of testing, I think theirs is better than where USAP is.
They've improved a lot, for sure.
Like, they've solved most of the complaints that people have had about paddles.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, honestly, I feel like if USAP could do 2 things, people would have so much more respect for them. If they could have a proper spin test in place that actually works, and then 2, actually enforce your rules. Enforce your rules, send out punishments for people who aren't following your rules. That's the problem. And those are two things right now that I think UPA-A does definitively better than USAP.
What I'll say about, I completely agree with everything you just said. I think those are the two main things that if they did, people would have a lot more respect for USAP. Things would be a lot better. I think the one thing UPA does well, they've improved a lot, but one thing they have improved and done well now is they have clear set guidelines and punishments for if you do this and this happens, this is the penalty or fine.
Yeah.
And it's a tiered system. Do it again, this happens, right? Yeah. Like public, it's been spread, like it's out there, everyone knows, and they're not afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, penalize these companies, USAP.
Even when we were at the USAP meeting, which was, what was that, a year ago now? Yeah, I think that was just over a year ago now. It was in January. Everyone there was like, put a punishment system in place. Put a fine system in place. Stop letting people get away with this. That would solve so many of the issues.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like what I think is funny about both of them is that they're like effectively getting to the same things. They're both doing some form of cannon test, PB core, PEF, Q core, all the cannon types of tests. They're in a pretty similar place. They're probably ultimately going to be at a spin test at some point, though USAP did say theirs was going to be done like Q2 last year, and we're still waiting on a spin test. So that's still not here. But it's like, ultimately, what I feel the problem is that we've got two governing bodies ultimately headed in the same direction. And it's like, once they get to that same direction, it's like, okay, well, now we've just complicated this for nothing. You're making paddles more expensive because companies have to pay more testing fees. You're making it more complicated for the people who have to buy your paddle. Is it UPA only? Is it USAP only? Is it dual certified? What event can I use this in? What event can't I? I'm curious if clubs ever start enforcing anything. Like, hey, it'd be crazy to me if clubs ever start going, hey, we only allow USAP, or hey, we only allow UPA. That would be nuts.
I don't think it's out of the realm of question. Like, I think it's a possibility.
That would, if we get there, that would be, that's even worse to me. That would be like, the confusion would be insane. Because imagine you get into the sport. You're brand new. Like, your buddy's like, hey, we'd like, pickleball looks fun. We should go try that. And you go buy some USAP paddles because they're like the easiest thing to buy. You show up at a club and they're like, yeah, sorry, we only do UPA paddles here. That would be like impossible to do due diligence on as a new person.
What if one organization, I'm not going to name either or, goes off the rails and is like, you know what? We just don't care about power. We're going to approve the Hush, the Vice, EVA, full EVA cores, whatever you want. Make it as powerful as possible. We don't care about safety.
Mm-hmm.
You just make whatever you want. Companies just start making cannons, tennis rackets that hit paddles or balls 100 miles an hour.
Well, sure, but that's a completely different argument. That's like showing up with a tennis racket.
Just go let some rando play with that. Yeah, why doesn't a rando come to a pickleball club with a tennis racket and start hitting 120 mile an hour?
That would be a problem,
right? So they would probably tell them not to use that.
I agree. But it's like right now there is no defined rule. It's more like common sense is the problem. And so I just think that if we get to a point where we're certifying like clubs only, I'm like, dude, I got it easy because I got every paddle on the wall. But imagine like your friends play at one club, you play this club, you like this paddle that's USAP only. And you're like, well, if I want to play with that, I got to own a second paddle just to play with my friends. That would be stupid.
But how realistic would it be that like there's going to be in an area, oh, well, this club's only this one and this club's only this one? I feel like it's pretty unlikely.
Well, okay, so what? They just do both?
I feel like if it ever got to the point where clubs are certifying their location to only a certain governing body, at that point, one governing body would have to do something so drastic and bad that it'd probably a pretty general consensus that like, okay, we're not going to do that one.
Yeah. I mean, it's all hypothetical.
Of course, it's all hypothetical.
I'm just saying I don't think it's great that we have two. The only thing that it's solving right now that I think is a good thing, and this is why I think eventually if they merge, this would be better, even though it's never going to happen, is what it did do is UPA-A getting all of this stuff in place definitely kicked USAP's butt into some form of gear to go, okay, we can't just sit here and do things the way we've been doing.
I mean, that's the thing.
And that is good.
It's like phone companies or any other company. Competition's good. Makes your competitors strive to make better products, right? So like, okay, yeah, USAP sat on their hands forever and did nothing, it felt like. And then UPA came along, and now they actually have to start cranking out new things, a spin test, and working on that. Obviously, it's been slow, but I don't find having two to be bad. I think competition's good. What if they merge? It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna be any better.
Why? We would have one governing body, one set of fees.
Then they're just gonna be arguing internally about things, and then things will probably never get done.
Well, they'll figure something out. They got to figure something out.
I don't believe in it. I know you live in La La Land and believe.
No,
that
I don't think they're gonna merge
work together.
But I'm saying that would be better for pickleball. You're saying you liked it. You like it more now with two than before with one. Let's say one could figure it out. You would rather have two over one.
Okay, again, the crazy hypothetical that they could actually figure it out. Clearly, they couldn't when it was just one.
So here's the question: if UPA-A could figure it out and it was definitively better, would you still rather have two, or would you rather have one?
I don't think you can throw out that claim of they definitively figure it out, because if there's only one, they're never actually going to work towards any better improvements towards governing paddles. It's just going to be, well, our system is the best and whatever we have in place is good enough. That's what USAP did before UPA came along. That's what I'm saying. I think having two isn't bad. I think forcing each other to improve things, because otherwise your organization's life is at threat, is important.
We'll see. We'll let the comments decide. We've been on this one way too long. We're going to move on to the main one, which is way more fun.
Yes.
Okay. DUPR reset. This literally had everyone up in flames. Rightfully so. I was, Reddit. I actually didn't go check Facebook. I should have checked Facebook, because there probably would have been some elite comments that would have been worth checking out. If somehow you didn't hear about DUPR reset, I'll give you the high level information and then we'll go from there. Okay. DUPR reset is going to run from March 16th to May 17th. You can pay $35 to effectively reset your DUPR. You play 8 games for doubles with 2 different partners as the minimum. If you don't play that, then nothing is going to count towards this, but you have to play at least 8 games with 2 different partners. And I'm assuming that could be 4 games with one partner, 4 with another, 1 game with one, and 7 with the other. They didn't really specify that. It had to be 8 with 2 different partners, like each. And basically, the whole idea of what DUPR reset is trying to do is, if you feel that your DUPR is highly inaccurate, and you're like, let's say you're a 4.0, and you're like, no, I am a 5.0. I know I'm a 5.0, but like, it's too hard to grind with 100% reliability. We've talked about this before. If you feel that way, this is your chance to fix it, because basically what DUPR is going to do is say, ignore everything about your previous history of matches and only take the 8 or however many you do during that time period. If you did 30 matches in that time period, they'd take 30. But basically, erase all the history and only look at your new one. It's like starting with a fresh DUPR account. Is essentially, but you're on the same one, is effectively what it is. And if I didn't already say this, I don't think I did. If your new DUPR is higher, you keep that DUPR. If your new DUPR is lower, you keep the old one. This is where I think so basically there's no downside. There's only upside to this, except, you could lose $35, but $35, people are out here buying $300 paddles. I don't think $35 is the end of the world.
Well, we'll get into that.
This, literally everywhere I looked, DUPR was catching fire after fire after fire. The amount of people that I saw in favor of this were so low, which I think is, I have a lot of thoughts, but I think it's funny with how many people have been like, I am not this rating, I am better. And now I'm like, you have the ability to prove it, and everyone's still upset. So it just feels like DUPR can't do anything, and they're always going to lose, which is interesting. But let's go over this.
All right, you start.
Well, first, let's talk about this. People call it a money grab, understandably so. I think there are reasons to consider this a money grab, but we've talked about this before. DUPR is a business. DUPR has to make money, okay? What are the ways they can make money? Ads. People weren't happy about ads. That frustrated a lot of people. Subscription. DUPR Plus. No one wanted DUPR Plus. Forced subscription, like a yearly membership fee. I can pretty much promise you everyone would lose their minds if that existed. And now, when they release a feature that you can pay money to try and benefit from, everyone is also upset. So it's like, DUPR isn't allowed to make any amount of money, it feels like.
This is what happens when you allow people to get used to something being free for too long.
Yes.
Businesses need money. I'm not against them making money. So I had gotten plenty of messages people complaining about, oh, this is too expensive. This is a money grab.
DUPR reset?
DUPR reset. I thought they said this was going to be free, and now they're switching it to be cost, which I don't remember them ever saying that this DUPR reset thing was going to be free.
I think there was rumors when DUPR reset was floating around at like some clubs kind of privately, and I think that's why people thought it would be free.
Sure. But my thing is, and I had some people say like, oh my gosh, $35, that's insane. Okay, you probably spent $35 on lunch or gas, okay? Like, is it nothing? No, I get it. It's not $5, right? It's a decent amount of money, but it's not the end of the world. If you care for how much people care about that little number and how much they put their life behind it, and you're not willing to spend $35 to confidently say it's what you think it should be, then clearly something here is off.
Yeah.
Either you're just a really frugal person, or you're not that confident that you can improve that number.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, again, I'm not against them making this a paid-for service. Because, again, it costs them money to implicate it. It costs them money to run the business. They've got to make money somehow. So, when it comes to the pricing and cost of it, I'm not against it at all. Because no one is forcing you to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so many people are upset about this, but it's not like DUPR saying you have to spend this money.
Yeah.
You don't like it, don't do it. You already have a DUPR. So just, why do you care?
Yeah.
That's on the cost thing, that's where I stand. What about you?
I think I think people have just gotten used to DUPR being a free thing, whereas if it had started out paid, kind of like USAP's yearly membership fee. Like when I got into pickleball, and I had to pay the yearly membership fee just to play in USAP sanctioned tournaments, I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's just what I got to do. I got to pay like $40 a year or something. Like, sure, that's fine. So I feel like if DUPR started that way, I think there would be less issue. But now getting people on board with it after it's been free would frustrate people.
I personally believe that that's just something they just need to do. Like, the longer you let it be free and go on, the harder it is going to be to get people on board with it. If you start it now, you're going to lose people, of course. You start it later, you're going to probably lose more.
Yeah.
Like, every sport I've played, there's a yearly fee to compete in sanctioned events. Doesn't matter what it is. That's the thing. It's the thing in golf. It's the thing in bowling. Every sport. Doesn't matter what it is. That's a normal thing in competition in sports.
Yeah.
So I'm used to it. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. $40, $50 a year, that is nothing. A year?
Yeah, to me, that would be a non-issue.
It's not a problem in the slightest. Now, I think it'd be bad if it was like, oh, you need to pay $50 a UPA a year, and $50 to DUPR a year, and $50 to the PPA, right? Like, that would start to be a problem.
Yeah.
If it was a bunch of different ones to compete. But if it was just one thing, even that, though, doesn't bother me that much. Because, again, that's just what I'm used to. That's just normal. Yeah. So, would it be annoying? Yes. But I don't see it as an issue.
I think the real problem, and where I understand people are angry about DUPR reset, and I think it's probably justified in this way, is that DUPR's whole thing throughout like the existence of the company is like accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. Our ratings are accurate. We have enough data across all these things. We can prove it. So to me, by giving people the chance to effectively reset and get, I'll come back to that part. The fact that you can reset it feels like they're saying, hey, we're not so confident in all the data we have leading up. If you have, they're using a year-long match history and it's weighted higher at the top and less at the bottom. To me, by offering this reset, you're saying, we actually don't know. Like,
I completely agree with that. And I do think it does feel weird to be like, yep, we're the best. We're the most confident about our algorithm. But on the other hand, if you want to switch it, pay this and try again. But
especially with the reliability thing, like
right.
That is a system, you're like just throwing that out the door.
But to play devil's advocate, I can see how it would be the most accurate if, like, for you, play consistently, you go to tournaments, you're like, yep, this is what your rating is right now, what it should be, and this is where we think you should be at. But we know some people where it's like, I didn't play a tournament for a year and a half, got a lot better. And, you know, I mean, the reliability thing does make it easier to obviously jump up a bunch.
Really only a problem if you have high reliability, because if you have low reliability, the swing is so big at a tournament. Like, I mean, I've seen people jump 0.3, 0.2, like match to match when they have a terrible reliability. So for those people, they're fine. It's like really just the high reliability people.
Yeah.
But it's like,
yeah, I don't really know what demographic of people is really going to be using this.
I feel like there are a couple people where I think it benefits because of, you know, just talking to clubs. And, you know, we know a lot of the owners in our area. There are always people who, like, they want to be in, let's say, a 4-5 open play, but their DUPR's too low. And it's like, they're like, no, I feel like I'm better than I am. It's like, okay, well, prove it. Now you have the chance to actually prove that you can do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for those types of people, but I also feel like in some ways it's undermining, like, everything that I feel like DUPR has built, like, their principles on, their data, like, it's very weird in that sense. It's like you can't make anyone happy, because the people who, if anyone has a low DUPR and they're like, no, I should be higher, and they're upset now that they have the chance, then I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you, because you got your chance to go and fix it.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like that's mostly where I sit with it. I don't think I really care that much that it's charged. I think it all just comes down to, why didn't you just update the algorithm? This is where I think people are arguing it's a money grab. Why didn't you just update the algorithm to weight the most recent changes for everyone? And then everyone gets to benefit from it. But instead, they're like, well, we can make some money from it and not have everyone go through this and weight the lower ones. And actually, here's the bigger thing. I actually think there'd probably be less angry people if there was downside. I think if you gamble, you take whatever your new rating is, and you lose your old one if you sign up for DUPR reset, I'd be curious if that solved most people's complaints. I think the fact that it's only upside is the problem, because then what you're saying is, okay, hey, we don't think the history of data is accurate. We think a year of, you know, whatever your thing, that's not accurate, so here's DUPR reset. We'll take your most recent 8, and we'll say that's accurate. But now what they're saying is, well, if you got a lower DUPR, actually that wasn't accurate. You can just keep the old one. Now that I think about it, I'm saying all that out loud, that I think is the problem.
I can see that. But on the other hand, literally nobody would do it if
100%, yeah, no one would do it.
Had to keep the lower one, because because let's be real, no one's actually that confident. Anyone who's like, my DUPR is low, I should actually beat this.
Yeah,
no one's ever actually that confident, because they'll talk it up.
Yep.
But the second it's tested, like, well, actually, I just wasn't playing well this day. Or you know, it's like, we hear it all the time.
It's like my favorite thing when people in rec, they're like, bro, I'm a 4-5. I'm a 4-5 for sure. And then a tournament comes up and they start playing the 4-0 division. And you're like, bro, I thought you were a 4-5. Why don't you just go play the 4-5 division?
Yeah.
That feels very similar to that.
For sure.
So, yeah, I guess now that I talk all that out loud, I think that's the issue. I'm debating doing it, not because I'm like, oh, I just want to jump my DUPR, but I think it would make for some pretty elite content either way. If my DUPR was lower or if it was higher, I think
Could you imagine if you could pick to keep the lower one?
Yeah, ruin your DUPR so you can play in lower rated tournaments. Yeah, that'd be a great idea.
Somebody, I want to say, I can't remember where I saw this. It might have been Discord. Somebody was saying, how much would you pay to be able to just move your DUPR up or down? A set amount to be able to, like, play in
$100 for every 0.1.
Oh my gosh.
How much are people willing to pay?
That's the thing. Yeah. How much are you willing to move it up or down? You know, like, so people could play in, you know, open plays and stuff.
Yeah.
I've never done, to my recollection, like a club or like DUPR night to go raise money.
Sure.
It's only ever been like tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
I don't know nowadays what it's like being a 3-7 and like, oh, really need to get 4-0 to play in this open play at this place. I don't know what that's like. Yeah. So I don't have a good perspective on that.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, from all the stories I hear from the owners around here and just talking with them and all that, I mean, I think it's a very real and frustrating issue.
Yeah. I hear about it all the time, but I've never been in that position, so I don't know what it's like, but it's very, like, clearly trying to give people something to fix that.
Yep. Totally. So I you know what I think is funny is like, just wait, if we've got DUPR reset now, when are we going to get like DUPR double XP? Like, hey, sign up for this time frame and you'll get twice as much DUPR for each match.
Oh my gosh.
And then but then how they'd pitch that? They'd pitch that as get twice as much going up, but don't lose twice as much going down. That's how they'd pitch that.
That would be so bad. Or like buy a DUPR shield.
Protect your DUPR.
Yeah, you can lose and not go down for a set number of games.
Oh my gosh! Now we're talking real add-ons here. You want to go carry a buddy in a tournament? Buy a DUPR shield,
dude. If that ever becomes a thing, that'd be so bad.
Yeah. So I don't know. I may try it. I may not. I don't know. I'm like, I mean, there's no downside. So I guess what's the possible loss? And it could probably make a pretty interesting video out of it. But
right, is it gonna weigh? Like, because you don't have to go somewhere for a set event to get these games in.
No, it's just I think you can't do self-reported matches.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. You have to play in tournaments or league matches.
I was going to say, could you imagine someone just self-reporting?
11-0, 11-0.
Yeah, against like 5-5s,
yeah. So I don't know. It would be interesting to do this and then go like play a qualifier on DUPR reset and see what I get, because we've taled about this, right?
Yeah, but you'd have to do how many qualifiers to get?
I know, you'd have to do like 8.
So many, if you're losing first round, you'd have to do.
Hey, maybe I won't lose first round. Maybe I'll win the first 2. Then I only got to do 4 tournaments. Oh, but if I did mixed and men's, I get twice as many. So
yeah.
I don't know.
It'd be tough.
Let us know down in the comments what you think. Did we miss something on that? Let us know. I think
still firmly believe the best way to make money for them is just to make it a yearly thing, yearly cost.
Yeah.
People would be upset, but eventually, a year and a half, 2 years down the road, people wouldn't even be thinking. It'd just be the norm.
Or just keep selling add-ons. DUPR Shield, DUPR Double XP, DUPR Quadruple XP, limited 12-hour window. Sign up now. It's just like a video game. It pops up. You're like, oh yeah, I want that booster pack, baby.
Instant jump.
Okay, well, let's move on to the paddle topics here. I'll breeze through this one quick. RPM Q2, we will have those soon. I think I just got a shipping notification. I wasn't in the first batch, so we should have all 4 of those soon. We'll talk about them when they come out. Everyone probably already knows about that. John's made some videos about it, so you can go watch those if you kind of want to know how it's built, and I'm sure there's other people who have made videos about them, but I'll chat about those soon, and I'm curious to see how it plays, for sure.
Yeah.
So after that, paddles that we actually have and can talk about, we'll talk about the Luzz Pro Blade first. Yeah. So technically the one we're holding right here, if you're looking at the design, I just looked at the website this morning. They sell 2 designs. This one is technically $10 more at $179, and then the other one, which is a slightly more simple design, is like $169. Just thought I'd clarify in case anyone thought this looked cool and wondered why the price would be different. After a code, I believe it's about $143. So this is a 14 millimeter core, all foam paddle, swing weight 115, also elongated only, twist weight 6.06. I'm going to go through this one kind of quick.
Yeah, I don't think we need much time for this.
I'm going to say this one's not that great. The Inferno is pretty darn elite. I think a lot of people would agree that is a very, very good paddle. Probably one of the top you can buy right now. This does not follow the Inferno up very well.
It does not. For if your expectation is anything remotely close to the Inferno.
Yes.
Now, what I will say, man, I'm just devil's advocate over here all day today.
Okay.
I would not personally play with this. And I don't really like this paddle very much. I think it is a very poor doubles paddle, but I can see why it is good for singles. I think a lot of specifically higher level singles players gravitate towards the opposite feel profile of what a lot of people like, especially amateurs, for doubles.
Yeah.
I think the stiff and hollow or dense and soft, feel is great for doubles. And we talked about this on the podcast with John, where it's like, nobody really likes that dense and stiff, realm of the chart. Well, the group of people that do is singles. A lot of people like that dense and stiff feel for singles because it gives instant feedback and directional control, or at least a perception of better directional control, because it's very immediate. So like obviously Chris Haworth has won a singles event with this paddle. Personally, I think you could give him a flip-flop and he'd win a singles title. Caitlin Christian's been using it. So I think there is a small group of people that will like it. But for the masses, this is not, like, for what the market has grown to like and shift towards, do not expect this to be that type of paddle.
Yeah.
It is a completely different feel profile. The best way I'd describe it is slapping an edge guard on a Power Air. Like, it's just...
I did say that someone who liked a Power Air, there's a decent chance they would like this paddle. It just feels so rigid. The sweet spot is small. Like, you are punished when you go outside of that sweet spot.
Very 2x4-esque.
Yeah, it's definitely not my favorite. I wouldn't say, okay, here's how I would say it. I think of recent paddle releases, this one's pretty low. And I would say bad, but that doesn't mean no one would like it. I know people would like a Power Air, which I think is crazy.
Yeah.
But to me, this is just not great. As I was hitting it, I was like, there's not much I like about this, other than maybe, to me, it felt slightly more predictable than an Inferno at times, just how the ball came off.
Yeah.
But the Inferno sweet spot's so much bigger that it almost didn't matter, because if you miss on this, the ball's not going anywhere.
What's so interesting to me with Luzz is their peel ply textures from model to model feel so different.
Yeah, I agree. This one feels pretty different.
This texture of its peel ply pattern is so different from, say, a Tornado or an Inferno.
Yeah.
And I just don't get why it's so different.
Yeah.
I think that's very odd.
I agree.
This texture on a Tornado would be awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not, and I'm just crazy, but I feel pretty confident.
Now, the
about
second
it.
I picked it up and compared to an Inferno, I felt the same exact way. Also interesting, ours didn't come with it. Maybe this was a decision later, but on the website, they said it does come with, it just looks like an MOI tuning weight that you can pop on and off. It looks like it's just maybe a plastic clip type of thing. So I thought that was interesting that, companies are actually doing that. It's what everyone wanted Selkirk to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much weight those are. I don't know if it's 3 grams, 5 grams, what. Definitely a paddle. I think if you wanted to reach full potential on this, it needs weight.
Yeah.
Playing it stock, I don't think a lot of people are going to play this thing stock.
For an elongated 14 at a decent-ish low swing weight, the twist weight's not bad.
Yeah,
but
606. But it doesn't feel like it.
But again, that does not always correlate to real world feel. Right? Like, you could have a 6.5 swing weight or a twist weight that does not feel that great.
It felt like a 5.3 twist weight.
Yeah, it didn't feel the best. So, I mean, yeah, that one's a pass for me.
Yeah, Luzz Pro Blade, not, if you were hoping it would be anything good, like awesome like an Inferno, no.
Or at least... Maybe that's not the best way to put it, but like the most user-friendly paddle. It is not that. It's not very user-friendly.
I would agree with that.
But this next one, you grabbed this one?
No, I grabbed this one on purpose.
Come on.
Okay, we're talking, for those listening, enhanced EPP Turbo, and I put the hybrid on the table.
Not the Turbo is great. We've talked about that, but the hybrid, why'd you grab the hybrid?
Because we got to talk about this.
I know.
We got to talk about
I will
this.
say, okay. Before you get into it, I will say I have hit with it. I've actually spent a decent. I'd probably put 15 games on the hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
Out of all the hybrid shapes I've ever hit, it's not the worst. Okay, I'll say that it's not the worst. If I had to use it, honestly, I'd probably put it in my top 4.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. Would I prefer an elongated? Yes, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
So go on.
Okay, so. I know the Turbo has been talked about, but I hadn't really gotten to hit them, and I finally had the chance to sit down and play with these, so I just wanted to give my thoughts on them. Definitely a paddle I want to make a video on. Price, $119 before code, $99 after code. For the wide body, twist weight 110, swing weight 110, twist weight 7.29, hybrid, swing weight of 112, twist weight 6.65, elongated 118, twist weight 6.56. All pretty, that's like numbers you'd expect across the board, except the elongated, that twist weight is oddly high. I wonder if there's some internal weight going on in there.
Could be.
Because that's a very high number for an elongated. And then warranty of 1 year. These for $100 paddle, chef's kiss. It just...
I hit the nail on the head.
I don't even have to... if someone said, like, how confident would you be recommending to this two people if you could never hit it again from that session I did already? I'd be like, confident recommend. Easy recommend. No problem. It's good. Even this hybrid, which going in, the first time I saw this, I was like, my expectations are abysmally low for this thing. Like, I was looking at this thing and going, why on earth? I'm still a little bit going, why on earth would you, of all the hybrid options you could pick, why this? Because
that right there.
I know the long handle, but like, I don't think most people care about that anymore. That long of a handle.
They should. This is the biggest upside to the hybrid. This shape.
Well, here's my question then. If you could have every elongated have a handle that long, would that be your preference? Or would you prefer, like, the elongateds that you like right now, is that fine enough?
The elongated specifically that I like the most is a handle close to this.
Which one was that?
The hit paddle.
Sure. I'd be curious to hold them up because, like, the face on this just looks so small.
Face is tiny.
So here's what I'll say about the hybrid. It plays way better than it looks. This is why you can't always judge a book by its cover, because I would have bet you money that this paddle sweet spot would have been terrible.
You know, the only reason why is because you had PTSD and were traumatized by Valaire's attempt at making a hybrid that looks like this. Okay, we went out.
Actually, I can't remember. That might have been a wide body.
No way.
I'm going to go look it up quick.
Honestly, did we bring that inside? I feel like I should go grab that. Like, if we had that thing inside, I wish I could go grab that. And
we'll pop up a picture on screen for you guys.
I'll throw up a picture because, man, but like, pictures just don't do it justice. You have to see it in person. It is crazy what that thing looks like.
It is technically it's a wide body.
That's nuts.
So that's why the head on this looks a little bigger.
Yeah, a little bigger.
But it resembles that paddle. Apparently, wheelchair players actually love that Valaire paddle. Because the handle doesn't get in it's so long and the face doesn't hit the wheel.
All right, I can see that.
So
that's valid.
There's a market for it, apparently.
That's valid. So maybe this is going to be the next one.
Maybe. So anyways, sweet spot really was not an issue. In the time I was hitting with it, I literally not once went, man, like, sweet spot. Like,
it's just the ugly duck of the family, you know?
Yeah, it performs very well. Sweet spot's not an issue. I wouldn't call it as big as a wide body, nothing like crazy like that, but genuinely, it was good.
Yeah.
I think across the board, even the wide body, which is basically a carbon 2 shape, which, like, I played that for a long time. I got over the shorter handle, wasn't my favorite. There are other wide bodies I'd prefer in terms of shape, but could get over it if I had to. The wide body was still good. After playing with it, I would need a little bit more time side by side, especially since I haven't put weight on this. The Loco changes a lot in terms of sound when you put weight on it, so I'm very curious if I did the same to the Turbo, if I would experience the same thing. I wouldn't call them the same exact paddle. However, I would say for $100 cheaper, what percentage would you say? It's like 90% of the way there.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
If you're like, I only love the Loco and this is all I want, like, okay, then yeah, go buy another Loco. Still think the paddle's awesome.
But if it's sold out and you really need a new one, for sure.
Turbo.
Go buy one of these.
Or if you've never had one, you're like, okay, well, I get something very similar for $100 less.
Yeah.
The turbos are very good. Now, one of the things I do want to say is because I feel like this happens a lot when a new paddle comes out, right? It's like all this excitement about it. This does not mean that the Quanta, the V-Sol, or whatever other $100 paddle is suddenly like, it's not so much better than those. I think they all do slightly different things, right? So if I'm looking at a Quanta, who I would recommend that for right now, someone who really wants the ability to customize. Mm-hmm. And you can get over the smaller sweet spot if you're fine customizing, or if you just want a ridiculously light paddle out of the box. Those are by far at the $100 price, the lightest options you're going to get. Yeah. And that the Turbo doesn't do that. The V-Sol Powers don't do that, or the V-Sol Pros don't do that. And then the V-Sol Pro, I would need to hit it side by side, but I'd put it in the realm of just as good. Maybe this has a tiny bit more firepower overall.
I'd take these over the V-Sol Pro.
But I think it's like, it's not that it's definitively better.
No, they're just different profiles for sure. It's just a matter of preference and what you like and feel.
Like, you know? I would say the V-Sol, again, I got to hit them side by side. But I feel like I'd probably say the V-Sol Pro is a tiny bit more dense than this. Like, this is a little bit more hollow.
Speaking of the V-Sol Pro, though, is there any updates on where that lawsuit's at with them?
No, haven't heard anything about that.
That's an interesting one. I'm curious how.
But that was for the power.
Oh, that's right.
It's not for the Pro.
That was for the Power.
Yeah, the one that people cared less about.
Yeah.
The good one stayed. The good one stayed.
Yep. It gets confusing. But I mean, out of all the budget options, this is definitely top of my list.
I think if they just had better shapes. Like, I could play this. Look, if I had to go play this hybrid, I could. But it wouldn't. It's not my first option.
I'm not even going to get into the whole shape. We don't need to. People already know. We don't even need to get into that. I do agree, though, that it is an interesting choice to make somewhat unorthodox looking or style shape hybrid and wide bodies. I think that did kill off some of their audience for this paddle. But who knows? Maybe it opened up a different side of the market. Or it's just so unique and different that it generated, I mean, we're talking about it, enough buzz that people are just curious and want to try it. So who knows? But overall, this is a winner.
Yeah, this is a very good paddle for sure. I will definitely be one of my more top recommendations at that price range. I mean, even this, it could be 150, it'd still be good. It could be 200, like a Loco, it'd still be good. You know, it's not just because it's the price. Like, the performance is good.
Yep.
Regardless of price, but the price on top is a nice cherry.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about this next one. I ran some stats. We hadn't run it on this yet.
I don't know if people are going to like my thoughts on this one.
My thoughts changed a little bit after I saw some metrics. So this is the Aireo Cyclone. This is one that people have been chatting about for a minute. Kind of its claim to fame that I have heard is everyone's like, it's a missile launcher, it's a rocket, it's got to be like the hottest paddle in terms of power on the market. We'll come back to that. Price, $189. That's before discount code. 1 year warranty. Specs, swing weight of 113. I believe this only comes in an elongated, and it's a 16 millimeter. Twist weight of 6.14, and the static weight was 7.6 ounces. So I'm going to talk about some thoughts really quick, and then I'll let you get into it. So first, one of my big questions was like, how much of a break-in does this paddle need? Because the way everyone describes this paddle, I would have thought this was maybe not a mod, but like the way people talk about it, I was like, okay, it's a mod. Like, the sound is crazy to people. The pop is nuts. The drives are nuts. And when I was hitting it, I was going like, it's fine. It's a power paddle for sure. But I was like, this is not shocking me. In all the paddles we had yesterday, which was like the Turbo, the Barrage, and the Luzz Pro Blade, and like one other, I wasn't hitting this going like, oh my gosh, wow, this is just absurdly more powerful. So then I'm like, okay, is there a big break-in? And then two, the thing that changed my mind a little bit is I was like, okay, the performance was good, just not like exceptional, but I didn't have any complaints. But then when I saw the swing weight at 113 and static weight at 7.6, I'm like, okay, that's a ton of room to weight this thing up.
Should test the other one though, because I wonder if that's just like a unit.
No, I've heard most people say it's really light.
They're really light.
Yeah, like static weight's usually pretty low. But we'll check the other one to make sure. So that, I'm like, okay, you weight this up to a normal elongated, and if there's a little bit of a break-in, like, it's probably hitting bombs.
But I do wonder if it has like a bit of what I like to call the Inferno effect.
Sure.
Where it's like, okay, yes, the Inferno is a power paddle. I think it hits very hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's, when I was playing with it a lot, had this came up all the time. It has got a way louder bark than its bite.
Sure.
Does it hit hard? Absolutely. But I think it sounds way more intimidating, because I've also had the other side where people are like, it sounds ridiculous, but not that crazy, right? Like, it doesn't, like, the drives aren't that like insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think pop and counters can be pretty nuts, but it's very similar to that, where it's like, but I'd say it's even less. Like, I think it's doesn't hit as hard as Inferno, but it has that sound where it's like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But realistically, speed and pace wise, I wasn't blown away.
Oh, that was the other paddle we had yesterday, the Inferno.
Yeah.
I knew there was one more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember which.
Hit it side by side with Inferno. And
Yeah.
I definitely think it's overall toned down than an Inferno. So if you've hit one of those, don't expect it to be exactly that or more.
Yeah. I think to me, when I'm looking at it, it's like this, I think where it would probably fit without having hit it a lot more to see if there's a big break-in is the people who want something light. Like 113 for an elongated and 7.6, like that gives you a lot of room to do what you want with it. I mean, there are wide bodies at that swing weight. There are hybrids in that swing weight. So like that's pretty darn maneuverable.
Right. Like, we have so many paddles now in this exact same category of really loud, and we're going to use our coined word, thonky, hollow, stiff, power paddles. Like, okay, we've got the Aireo Cyclone, we've got the Inferno, we've got the EPP Turbo now, right? Like,
and the MPP Turbo.
And the MPP Turbo.
Oh, if people were curious,
that's the one that's one I meant to say is MPP Turbo, not EPP.
Just so people know, I didn't get to hit that one. Forgot to bring that one yesterday.
Sure. That I've hit that one side by side with the Inferno, all that. But anyways, I think there's a lot of options in that realm of exact same paddles. And I just don't, besides the weight thing, if weight doesn't really matter that much, if you're going to weight it up anyways, like I do, I don't really see a huge reason to get this.
Yeah.
Right? Unless, it's cheaper than the Inferno. There's that. But the MPP Turbo is cheaper than both of them.
Yeah.
So, I think, is it a good paddle? Sure. I'll give it that. It's good. Think it is a little overhyped. I think there's a lot of buzz and talk about it. I personally wasn't blown away by it.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
But overall, everything, it's the same things we say about all these paddles. These stiff and hollow foam paddles. Sweet spot solid. The swing weight and twist weight on this it's got good metrics. Spin was okay. Pop and power, great. It's don't really have anything that bad to say about it.
Yeah.
So
just nothing super standout.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's something crazy new and it's gonna do anything way better than the other options.
Which is what makes me wonder again, is it break-in or did something change from when, I think this paddle's been around since at least Worlds. So I'm did something change?
Lewis had one.
Yeah, and I didn't get to hit it then. So it would have been, I wish I had, because then I would have a frame of reference of here's what the ridiculous one feels like.
Yeah, right.
So no idea, but yeah, I think interesting from the standpoint of being light, but out of the box, it was not quite what I expected.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the Barrage. We actually got to hit these a little bit.
The Barrage.
So price $280, $252 after a code, still a 14 millimeter. At launch, I believe it's only going to be two shapes. It'll be the Carbon 2 and the Carbon 4, so none of the elongated shapes. Both the swing weights on ours were 111, and then for the 2 and the 4, thought that was kind of interesting. Twist weight, 6.77 on the wide body, and then 6.48 on the hybrid. Before I get into thoughts on the play, because I do have some interesting thoughts about that now that I've actually gotten to hit these. So I did a poll. I'm actually going to try and pull this up really quick while I talk about this, but I did a poll on Instagram that was inspired because of this paddle about what grip size do people prefer. And if you're listening right now, I would love if you would leave a comment if you know what grip size you prefer, because I put a poll up on Instagram that was, do you prefer 4.25 inches, 4.125 inches? And those are the two industry standard grip sizes. And then smaller than that is pretty uncommon, and then bigger than 4.25 is also pretty uncommon. But I put those in there just in case people had a preference. 50% of people in the poll preferred 4 1/8, 4.125 inches, the smaller grip size, which is the camp that I fall into. Then next was 29%, 4.25 inches, and then it was very small, the remaining percentages for smaller than and greater than. And that, I don't know if I can see the total vote count on that, but it's close to, that's probably 700 votes if I'm ballparking that, looking at it. So the reason I bring that up is because this handle's pretty chunky. One thing that companies have heard reviewers talk about, and I think it's misunderstood, is everyone wants the hard pallet, right? Hey, it's a better handle than the really cheap foam ones. I've said it before. Personally, I don't really care if it's foam as long as it's a harder foam. It just can't be the really soft, squish in my hand foam pallets. But if you're going to go to a hard pallet, please, for the love of everything, find a slimmer hard pallet so that it's 4 1/8. Because if the trade-off is a foam pallet at 4 1/8 or hard pallets at 4 1/4, 4 1/4 is definitively worse to me. Yeah. Now, of course, don't cater to me, cater to what the mass wants. But also that poll, the mass said they wanted 4 1/8.
Yeah. I think most people that I talk to are in the same camp. Just 4 1/8.
Okay, so if you had to pick foam pallet and 4 1/8 or hard pallet 4 1/4, what are you picking?
Oh, man.
Is that hard of a decision, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I personally notice the foam. Even if it is the harder foams, I do notice it. I do much prefer the hard pallets. I'd probably have to go with the thinner handle because I like to, my like ritual with paddles when I set them up is I take the stock grip off and wrap 2 over grips onto my paddle. That is how I prefer it. I like the feel of it. It has a certain amount of cushion to it, and just the way the ridges of the grip work out. It's a very specific process. With the thinner grips, it's not too chunky. It's not, it gives a nice amount of cushion to it. But with the thicker 4.25 grips, I can't do 2 over grips. Otherwise, it gets too chunky. And if I only do 1, then
it's too hard.
It's too hard. It's like too hard.
Yeah.
I like the feeling of the bevels, but then it almost feels sharp.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? So there's that like balance between but when it is a 4 1/8 grip with the hard pallets and I put 2 over grips on it, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, realistically, I'd probably have to go with the thinner grip.
Yeah. So I just bring that up because it kind of caught me off guard when I took this out of the box. And also when we get to the Joola Kosmos, which is next, that's another talking point I want to talk about was these thicker handles. Because to me, it feels like, okay, at least the people who follow me, they prefer 4 1/8. And I also feel like, and I don't know this for a fact, maybe companies would have some interesting insight on this. And if you do, feel free to message me because I'd love to know. I feel like people who are maybe a little bit more casual in pickleball, or at least not a paddle nerd, like maybe they play a lot of pickleball, but they're just not a paddle nerd. I feel like if you gave them a 4 1/8 versus a 4 1/4, I don't feel like they'd care that much overall. So then I'm like, why not just make it 4 1/8? Now, of course, that creates a whole other issue of like, there are people with big hands who don't want to wrap a ton of overgrips to get it to the size they want because you lose the bevels and then it's more circular. You can't please everyone. You're just trying to please as many people as you can. So I realize it's like kind of a nitpicky thing, but it just caught me off guard. So if you're a woman out there and you like smaller handles, the Barrage is not one of them. It is bigger, and if you were going to put an overgrip on this, it would be pretty chunky. So,
I mean, even there's a bunch of guys out there that prefer a lot thinner grips too. Like there's a few guys here locally have let hit the pickle poppers, and they love that thing.
Yeah.
So, it all comes down to preference. And I think this preference is fairly important, right? Like the handle is the one thing connecting you to the paddle.
Yeah.
And it's the thing you feel the most. So like I find it to be pretty important. That's why I'm so nitpicky about it.
Agree. So, all right, let's talk about thoughts on this. The best way I think I could summarize this paddle after hitting it, and I really wish I had brought a Genesis with me yesterday just to like confirm it even more. But to me, the Barrage is a souped up Genesis. It's like a better Genesis in almost every way, unless you just maybe wanted a little bit more control. But like sweet spot is better. Power is better. Like I would say almost nothing about the Barrage is worse than the Genesis. And it even brings the feel closer back to the Genesis. Like I would put this closer in the dense and soft side, like maybe like dense, either middle or like slightly past middle towards stiff.
dense and soft, dense and stiff, dense and firm.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
There we go. Yeah,
like that's the one right in between the two.
Middle is firm.
Yeah.
To me, that's the category I would put it in. And what I think is interesting is because we've had so many paddles that are hollow stiff that I think that if you really like the Genesis, you didn't like how the Waves played, you might really like how the Barrage plays.
Yeah.
Now, if we're not factoring in price, like that's a whole other conversation of whether that's worth it or not. But if you're like, price doesn't matter to me and I'm just looking for that attribute, I think the Barrage does it pretty well. I did think the sweet spot was probably still a little bit worse than some of the conventional like floating core designs we've seen, whether that's those turbos, whether that's the Loco, the Vapor Power 2, the V-Sol powers. Like I still felt like there were some areas that were more dead than I was expecting, but better than a Genesis and for sure better than the Waves. If the Waves never existed and the Barrage came out first, I think people would have lost their mind.
Sure.
Maybe not like Loco level attention. They still would have been like, oh, like was hoping for a little more maybe. But the feel profile is different and it would remind them of a foam paddle that people had already liked from Carbon.
It is just really tough thinking about the landscape of the market with this paddle right now. I think, okay, let me just go into this first. Play and performance-wise of it. They only have the 2 shapes, the wide body and the hybrid. I primarily spent time with the 4, the hybrid. It does have that kind of dense and almost stiff, kind of firm feel, which I've not many. Is it full floating core?
Yeah, it's EPP center core with like a different void structure than a Genesis.
Yep.
And then there's an EVA ring, but then there's an EPP ring that goes outside of it, kind of like frames the whole paddle.
Yeah. But it's fully encompassing. It's
yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. So it does have like a stiffer and denser feel than most floating EPP core foam paddles, I would say, which at the moment is not my preference, but I do recognize it is pretty good for the 14 millimeter foam paddles. Again,
agree.
Not my typical like category of paddle. Not a huge fan of the 14s. I would take this over a Shift.
Okay.
I think it's nice to have another option on the UPA side, but I would probably still take the Speed Up Tide over this. It's just that that's not UPA approved. I know to a lot of people that's probably not going to matter. But feel-wise, Tide still takes it for the 14 millimeter paddles. This one, second.
And I think
it's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I just think the sweet spot is not as good as 16 millimeter paddles, especially for being hybrid and wide body. I didn't feel like the sweet spots were all that amazing.
Yeah.
Improved over the Genesis and Waves for sure.
Yep.
So if you're coming from that, this is a pleasant upgrade.
Yep.
Spin was solid. I felt like I could spin it well. And pop and power was, I'd say middle of power.
Middle of the road,
yeah,
probably.
Middle of the road of the power paddle.
Didn't
right?
feel like it was lacking.
Yeah. Didn't have any complaints in power, but it, again, wasn't like, this is crazy. So overall, I'd say play-wise, good. Comparable to the market. I think it's great. It's just a matter of, is this something I'm going to recommend to people to buy? It's very difficult because of where it's priced. It's so hard to be like, yeah, you should go buy this when other cheaper options are out there that play or feel pretty close.
I think we're paddles, and I actually almost may even start emphasizing this a little bit more because I think it's becoming increasingly important in the paddle market, is feel, back in the day it was like some paddles, the performance was so exceptionally better that you could just get over the feel. But I think now with performance being more equal, feel is the bigger differentiator, and some people are going to have very big preferences on the different quadrants that they're going to want to be in. And I think this separates itself from the other paddles and puts itself in a quadrant that I would say at the power level it is. Not many of the other foam core options are equal in. So it's like, okay, hey, that's the feel profile you want? Well, 280, 250 is what you got to spend to go and get it. So it's like if someone told me that's exactly what they wanted, be like, okay, well, I got something you could check out. But I'm right there with you where I'm just like, man, if the specific feel is not the most important thing to you.
Like if somebody was describing to me, okay, I need a wide body, 14 millimeter. I want it to be foam, want it to be a floating core, want it to be a little bit stiffer, poppy, power. I'm like, okay, I've got that in my mind. I know it's going to be this. And then I'm like, okay, I got the paddle for you. They're like, oh, that sounds great. Tell them. But then they're like, how much is it? And I'm like, well, about that.
Yeah.
Like somebody recently was asking me, okay, I play with a Loco. What is a good UPA option to move to that's close enough to the Loco? There's a few paddles I recommended, but one of them, I'm like, it's close-ish, but it's really expensive and overpriced, So it's like, even though this is what you're asking for, I probably wouldn't recommend it because, like I told him, I wouldn't buy this, even though this is close enough to what you're asking for. And I get it. A lot of people, there's people out there who don't care about price and they just want that specific thing. That's great. But I think there's probably more people in the camp of wanting to be concerned and care about price of the paddle.
Yeah, I think it just depends sometimes. Like as I've been thinking about the whole price conversation lately, I think people will always flex a little bit if they know they'll get the extra little thing they want, right? Like I find when I'm purchasing things, if it's like, oh, I will actually I got to spend like, I don't know, let's say $50 more, but but I actually get like 10, 15% more of the thing I'm actually looking for. Like maybe that feel is that last 10 to 15%. I'd be like, okay, I could probably flex there. It's tough because it's such a personal thing. Okay. I don't know what someone's budget is.
I'm with you on that in a lot of other markets, right? Mm-hmm. There are other markets where I'm willing to spend more to get exactly what I want. But I just think that gap in pickleball is closing so rapidly, right? Like, you can get a turbo. That's exactly, not exactly. Let's just say 90% of an Inferno. Is that 10% really going to matter all that much? And even like, I might be less than 10%, So
it just depends on the person.
The gap's just really closing in pickleball.
Yeah.
But I get it. Sometimes that like it feels better to be on court with a better higher end name brand than a Canon or any of the other, like a Turbo, right? Not that that's a knock on these brands. It's just more recognizable name, and sometimes that matters to people.
Totally. So yeah, I don't know. I think if price doesn't matter, I think the Barrage is fine. I actually, one of the areas that I did think was pretty good was touch for the level of power it had, probably more so to do with just the feel it has. I feel like a lot of times paddles that are a little closer to dense are often associated with a little easier to control than hollow stiff. So I did feel like in that area, it felt pretty good. The knock on that I just say is like the sweet spot being a little worse. Takes a little points away. Like you get a couple of resets where you're like, that would have went over with another paddle.
I say it's like the sweet spot's average for the 14 millimeter paddles, but then you get into the 16s, and that's where it starts to be a noticeable difference. I'd really just like to see a 16 version of the Barrage. I just like, again, with a lot of these brands, I don't know why they're so hung up on specific things. Selkirk and throat holes and spray on grit, and this brand with that, and carbon with thin paddles. Why is that such a hang up? I don't understand.
I agree. Completely agree. All right. Last paddle.
This one will probably be quick, to be honest.
Yeah, probably quicker. So let's talk about the Kosmos. I got about like 25 games on this thing now. I just did a little reel talking about some stuff, but figured I'd talk about it on the pod in case people missed it. This is going to be I'm going to talk just about the performance. I'm not going to talk about durability. You all know about how Gen 3s are. And I'm not going to talk about the price because some of you will care about the price, some of you won't. So I'm just going to get into what I think of the paddle. This is not my recommendation for other people. I got to wait until I, finish the review to really have like all of those thoughts. But I do think right now that this is going to be one of those paddles that will be heavily debated and heavily disagreed on. I think there will be people who think this is one of, if not the best paddle on the market for them. And then other people who would go, this is so mid, I would take $100 option for this. And I think both people are right. I think both of them are right. And I'll get into why.
Okay.
So first, I played this paddle in a tournament. I have been doing that a lot recently where I play paddles in a tournament. I played the P1 in a tournament. I played the Vapor Power 2 in a tournament. Played the Loco in plenty of tournaments. Like, it is a thing I like to do if I have a tournament that is maybe not a PPA, and if I like the paddle, to help do a review. Because I find that in a tournament, that is where you will expose all the flaws of a paddle. How much do you actually like it? How can you handle it under pressure? If I can play it in a tournament, I feel like I really know the paddle. I don't need to do that to review a paddle, but it gives me that extra little confidence when I do it. So there was a team tournament here, and I started playing with the Kosmos because I was like, okay, we should work on this review some more, and it'll give me a better sense of the paddle. And I had to stop using it halfway through the tournament. It was like the paddle was just frustrating me. And I can't even say that because it's like, oh, it's an objectively bad paddle. It's not like the Luzz Pro Blade where I just feel like there's like actual issues with it. I think it's just not for me. And maybe I'm getting to the point now where it's even hard to say this because like paddles can vary so much within Gen 3 and within foam paddles. But I was going to say like, maybe I just prefer foam paddles now. But I know there are still Gen 3 paddles I would like, and there are definitely foam paddles I don't like. Luzz Pro Blade, perfect example. So it's like, it's sometimes hard to make it this Gen 3 versus Gen 4 because sometimes it's not even about that because they can feel so different within their category. But to me, I was just not vibing with the paddle at all. And some of the reasons were, I think it's like a weird combination of power and feel. Like something about when I'm going to hit the ball hard, I don't feel like I'm getting as much power as I want, even though I can see that it's a power paddle. It might just be the perception of the feel being softer than most Gen 3s is what's tripping me up. But something about that combination, like at the net, I wasn't as confident in my dinks. And then on resets, the sweet spot just felt tighter. So I felt like I wasn't getting my resets as well as on foam paddles. So there was that. And also that was with weight. So I started the tournament stock and then I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I got to have some weight. So I put 1 gram per inch, and this is probably 4.5 inches, I'd say, on both sides at like 3 and 9. And that still wasn't enough. Like I played another set of matches with it, and I was just like, I didn't feel like it made that big of a difference, at least less than I was probably expecting. So that was a little tough. And then we were just talking about this with the carbon. I have a very similar feeling about the Joola handle, where these are 4 1/4, at least the 16 millimeters. I think the 14s are thinner. But I tried putting a Hexacore on this because I've been going back to those lately. And with a Hexacore, it was just the pink one, which is the smallest one, it was way too thick. I didn't measure it, but it felt like close to a 4.5 inch handle. I immediately took it off.
And the Joola grips have that extra sleeve that goes over the pallets and the handle to put in the like RFID chip inside the handle. So I think that adds a little layer.
Yeah. And it just like now, because the thickness was bothering me, I felt like I almost just like couldn't maneuver my wrist as well. I took the Hexacore off and then I did 1 grip, but then it's like what we were talking about earlier, which is now the handle is thinner and where I prefer it, but now the handle feels so hard in my hand
that cushion.
It's bugging me. Like when I'm squeezing the paddle, like I feel like I have no cushion.
Yeah.
So I realize that's not going to be a complaint for everyone. That is very much a personal thing. All of these things are personal to me, but I'm just expressing what made me have to put it down. So about halfway through the tournament, I put it down, went back to my P1, and I felt like I was playing a lot better. I don't know if it's just the Kosmos shape. Like I'm going to see if I can get the other shapes, like a Scorpius 16, and maybe that solves all my issues. Like maybe it's purely the shape, because I say that, or it's a break-in thing. Because when we were at the event, we got to try a radius version of the Pro 5, which for those of you who, some of you might not even know what that shape is.
If you know what a radius is.
It used to be a shape.
You're an OG.
Yeah, you're an OG if you know what that shape is. So, and that one was for sure broken in, had plenty of hours on it, and I liked that one. Like I was having fun with it, and I don't think it was strictly due to the shape. Like maybe some of that was the break-in. So that's why I'm just like a little confused why I'm not vibing with this as much. I'm like, does it just need way more break-in? Does it need a different weight setup? Is it the handle? Is it a combination of everything? Like, it's just one of those paddles that as I'm doing a review, I'm like, man, I did not expect to have this like vibe with it this little. But I say all of that and say that if you liked a Pro 4 and all you wanted was for it to feel softer, boom. I can see where this is going to be a perfect paddle for some people, but for me, it's just not.
Sure.
Like I would for sure currently, at the time of recording this podcast, take a Pro 4 over the Pro 5.
Wow.
And I'll get into a couple other things and I'll let you talk because you have hit the Perseus a bit. What I think it is good at, it has a softer feel, so if you want that, that's good. I think it does have more control than the Pro 4. I feel like it's easier to put the ball where I want it. And I think there's a little bit less vibration than a Pro 4. So if you're kind of sensitive to that, I think this does that a little bit better. And obviously, if you like a Gen 3 feel, then I think you'll probably like this. So it's just not for me, but I don't think that means it's a bad paddle. I think that's what's interesting about the state of Gen 3 and Gen 4 is everyone wants to make it this thing of like, Gen 3 has to be better. Look, Ben Johns prefers it. All these high-level guys prefer it. That means it has to be better. And to me, I'm like, I don't think that's the case. Like, I think foam has its benefits, has its drawbacks, just like Gen 3 has the same thing. If you like Gen 3, go buy a Gen 3.
Yeah, it's like what John was saying on the last podcast. It comes down to familiarity.
Yeah.
I think the honeycomb is very familiar to a lot of people right now. That Gen 3 style has been popular for a long time. Foam is new kid on the block. And obviously, you and I have spent a lot of time with foam paddles, but that doesn't mean everyone has.
Yeah.
Still new. So I think we're now used to and familiar with foam and see the benefits, but that doesn't always translate to everyone else in the market because maybe they're not as familiar with it yet. Yeah. Are there still benefits to it? Absolutely. But I think people are still just comfortable with honeycomb.
Yeah.
So I think that's the the issue with it. My personal thing, like, I recognize performance-wise is very good. There's no question about that. It's in a weird middle zone for me right now that I don't like. I like poppy paddles, the Inferno, these foam paddles. I feel like resetting with them is really easy, and I like the feel profile they give me. But on the other hand, I also like playing with things. It is a Gen 3, and it is honeycomb, the Falcalos paddle.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even more toned down than the Pro 5. So, like, it's just in this middle zone I don't like. I don't feel comfortable with it. Dropping is very difficult. Drive's still fine. I just don't enjoy, more I've been using it, its feel profile. It's just not for me. I think I've gotten used to these foam paddles, and I prefer those.
Yeah, the one thing they did say at the Joola event is they're like, look, you're probably going to have to adjust some mechanics. And at the time, I was like, I mean, yeah, some different paddles, obviously, right? Poppy versus not poppy, whatever. At the time, I was like, whatever. I don't really believe that. But after playing with it, I'm like, something is different enough to where it's just tripping me up, and I don't like it right now. So I'm like believing that a little bit more the more I play.
I've spent enough time. It's not a matter. I don't even know how to describe it exactly. Kind of like what you're saying. It's not just the feel profile. I feel like
it's like a weird combination. Like, I don't know why it's so hard. Like, this one is tripping me up so bad.
It's specifically for me just on drops. Drives, I feel very comfortable on drives. I actually love drives with this paddle. Everything else, hands, there's not anything play-wise that I don't feel comfortable with this, except drops. Something just feels slightly off with drops. But there's not anything else I don't feel comfortable with.
So, for you, do you prefer this over the Pro 4 then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would take this over a Pro 4 for sure. Okay. But I would still take a lot of these foam paddles over this.
Yeah, right.
So, but if we're specifically just talking Pro 5 to Pro 4, I'm taking a Pro 5.
Okay, interesting. See, and this is what I mean. Like, I think people are there are going to be some like me who are currently in the Pro 4 camp, and others who are like, Pro 5's better.
But it's such a small difference.
Yeah.
If you blindfolded me, I'd probably be like, I don't really care. Doesn't, like, I could bounce back and forth between either one, and I don't think I'd notice that much. But if I really had to nitpick and choose, I'll probably take this. I need to experiment with adding more weight to the Perseus right now. And maybe that will fix things with my drop. It's just really light at the moment, and I need to keep adding weight to it. So who knows? Maybe that will fix things, but at the moment, I'll take foam paddles.
Yeah, going to be very interesting to see. It's like, you obviously can't argue that it's a good paddle. Ben is going to keep winning. Anna Bright just beat Ben Johns with it. It is a good paddle. No one is going to say it's a bad paddle.
For sure.
But I think it's going to be a very big like preference thing on like Gen 3 versus foam. And even within some Gen 3s, I think people will prefer some Gen 3s over another.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth to you, but that's where I sit with it right now. Maybe after break-in, opinion's going to change a lot, but that's where I sit right now. All right, let's talk about this question of the week in the kitchen here, and then we'll wrap things up.
Let's do it. The debate begins.
Is being taller actually an advantage for doubles? You already know what I'm going to say. You already know what I'm going to say.
Let's just get the elephant out of the room real quick. Obviously, height matters a lot in singles. Okay? Obviously. Roscoe Bellamy has a huge advantage over someone like Hayden. But you still have people like Jaume or Gabe Joseph that are incredible at singles. They're very fast. But again, this is specifically talking about doubles. I personally nowadays don't think being that much taller is a huge advantage in doubles.
Okay, if I turn off my joking brain for a second, which is going to be very hard for me to do because tall people should go play tennis. Okay, I'm going to turn it off now.
Yep.
I think realistically, it's probably a set of pros and cons. I think when you are smaller, there's like a number of things. One, smaller, harder target to hit. When you're bigger, you're like a Roscoe Bellamy, bro. You're a Deco Bar. You want to light someone up in the chest, easy target.
Dude, Roscoe, when I was at the Masters, he played Jack Sock in doubles. I mean, we talked about it afterwards. Yeah, he's a big target, and Jack knew that. I mean, he was just getting pelted with speed ups, and he couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So that is a huge downside of being tall. I think there are pros and cons, but again, my point of the question is I don't think height is as valuable as people make it seem to be in doubles. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, if you're a giant, it must be so nice. So it's such an advantage. Oh my gosh, you're going to be so much better than me because you're taller. I don't believe that.
I think it's probably you will be better at certain things that will frustrate people. And for the smaller people, you could say the same thing. Because I think being able to take balls out of the air at the net and flick something really nicely is a pretty big advantage. If you take a guy that's 6'1", maybe even 6'2", versus someone who's like 5'5", that's a pretty big advantage at the net. Like that 5'5" person's going to have a much harder time hitting that shot. Sure, they can still reach some balls and take them out of the air. Anna Leigh takes balls out of the air. But it's just not the same as the tall person. But then you also realistically, I can put this down now. Look at stuff like someone who's smaller, they have an easier time dinking than, say, probably a Roscoe Bellamy, right? It's easier to get lower and stay low, like easier on the legs, on the body. I also think a lot of times the smaller people are a little bit more nimble on the court. Once you pass like a certain threshold, people just start looking really clumsy in doubles.
Clumsy and, movement gets a little bit more awkward. It just, it gets tough to be mobile on the court when you're that tall.
So I think it probably is just a set of pros and cons.
Because look, Roscoe has an incredible flick.
Oh, serve, also a big advantage.
That I can see. Okay, sure.
Higher belly button.
Mm-hmm. I think Roscoe has an incredible flick. He's got great reach. He's 6'5". Okay. I would say Hayden has a 10 times, no offense, Roscoe, I know you're listening. Hayden has a 10 times better flick than Roscoe. And Buddy is 5'7", 5'8". I don't know. It's very short.
But think how lethal it would be if he had even more reach.
Who's to say it would be just as good? Maybe there'd be other issues or downsides to his flick, things that would hinder him.
Maybe.
So like, my point is everyone's like, oh, I can't have as good of a flick as you because you're so tall, right? Bro, that argument's dead. Look at Hayden out here, okay? Or again, Anna Leigh, very short. She's like, what, 5'1"?
No, she's not 5'1". That's crazy. Keep talking. I'm going to look that up.
I mean, she's very short. She might not be 5'1", but there are a lot of people. I think it's Isabella Dunlop.
5'6".
Okay, so she's
5 inches is a pretty big difference.
that's a pretty big difference. But like Isabella Dunlop, I know she's 5'1". People are very short, and it's very good players. I don't think it's a huge advantage. Obviously, there are advantages to being tall, but I think overall, I don't think it's like, oh, you're just instantly going to be that much better because you're tall.
So here's my question then: what is the perfect height? Because I bet you right now you're not going to say 5'5".
Well, no. I think, again, there's probably more.
He's going to be like 6'1". Tall people.
There's more advantages to being tall, I think, but I don't think it's as big an advantage as people make it out to be. That's my whole point.
Give me a number. Give me a number. What number are you going to
say my height?
Which is what?
6'2".
Yeah, see? Tall people. No one's saying I want to be a short king.
Well, maybe you want to be Hayden. I'm just saying.
I mean, I would love to have the skill of Hayden, but
I think, I was kind of looking into it. I didn't find any definitive studies on it, and maybe I need to spend some more time looking into this. Maybe it's a wild goose chase, but I feel like people who are shorter just have like faster twitch muscles or faster reaction time. I don't know, something, because again, you're not seeing anybody on the court move like Hayden that's 6'2". I mean, look at people like Andre. Andre is probably the most awkward moving.
No. You want to know why can't I think of his name? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Ranking,
tennis player.
Where's he at?
Tennis player.
Isner?
No, he played. Well, yes, because he played
Query. Sam
Query, and then also I feel like there was one other that I'm blanking on.
Sam Query is for sure the most awkward looking on court.
Like, definitely when you pass a certain threshold, like the awkwardness and movement doesn't quite look the same. Like, I think Hayden would just appear far more athletic on the court than an Andre would.
Yeah. But I was just specifically saying in the top ranked players.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Like, Andre just is an incredible player, for sure. But it just looks really awkward. And I think he has some issues that someone like Hayden wouldn't have to deal with.
Christian Alshon 6'2", and he looks like a very good mover, so maybe it is 6'2". But I'm just saying, he didn't say under 6 foot.
No, I'm just saying this is kind of just, a funny, goofy debate. I just think that, like, again, I've heard it said all the time. It's like, oh man, tall people just always going to be better, have huge advantages. And I think those huge advantages apply in singles, not as much in doubles.
It does feel like the coverage at the net, which I think left and right, I'm not talking about reaching in. For some reason, the like really tall teams, it doesn't seem like it's as big of a gap as you'd expect with some of like the shorter teams in terms of how they cover middle or cover the sideline.
Right. You see these juniors, that's like the biggest thing is like, dude, you've got kids like Tama or just chopping tall people up, you know, right? Like, got kids out here are 9 years old, 10 years old who are crazy good. So you've got no excuses, man.
I don't know. I'm not 6'2". I never will be. I got some excuse. I'm not the ideal body for a pickleball player.
You could be. There is a surgery out there for it.
I probably don't want one of those. I think I'm good without one of those surgeries. Hang on, wait. Before we wrap this up, I'm going to look some up.
Easy for me to say.
Men's doubles, PPA Tour ranking. I want to see the height of all the people in the top 10.
Okay, now we go.
Yeah. Now this guy's getting quiet. Hang on.
Hayden is one of the only like short people in the top 10.
Okay,
that I can think of.
I'm gonna have to click through all of these one by one. Okay, Ben Johns, number 1, 6'1".
Yep.
Gabe Tardio.
I think he's like 6'1" or 6'2".
6'2".
Yep.
Actually taller than I thought. Christian Alshon, we already did his 6'2". JW, I don't know his height.
He's like 6 foot.
5'11", close enough.
Yeah.
Andre Daescu, 6'4". Hayden, let's see what his. I don't know what Hayden's height is. Come on.
But now, okay, what I'll say.
5'9". Hey, that's my height. There's hope. There's hope for me to be a 5'0". Hang on. CJ Klinger, 6'3".
Okay, he's super tall.
Fed's going to be, he's taller than I thought. 5'11", okay. And then last two. Eric.
Eric's super tall.
Yeah, Eric is, he's got to be 6'3", 6'4", probably.
6'3", I think.
We're both wrong. 6'2". And last one. Dylan Frazier. He's going to be, 5'11". Well, okay, we had one person under 5'11".
Now, let me get to that. My rebuttal, I think at the elite levels, taller people can take more advantage of their height than people at lower levels. That's a big part of my point here is like, unless you are elite level, you should not be complaining about your height.
I'm just saying maybe I could be elite level if I had the height. We'll never know.
I'm gonna have to disagree.
I'm going through this right now.
I'm gonna have to disagree.
I'm tapping through. I'm like going through the top 20 now. Hang on. I'm just gonna keep tapping. I'm not gonna read all the names this time, but I'm almost through all of them.
Like I said, at the elite level, they can take advantage of it better than people at lower ranks.
I think in the top 20, there was like 3 people maybe 4 under 5'11", and I think it was maybe 6 people in the top 20 under 6 foot. So I'm sticking with my argument. Tall people suck.
But again, you're only out here playing 4, 5, and 5-0 events. I don't think it's like the paddle argument, right? You should not complain about your paddle in the slightest. Like $100 paddle, a $300 paddle in any amateur rank does not matter. I think height, same thing applies. At that level, you should not complain about your height because you're not going to be able to take advantage of height nearly as much as these elite players.
Do I need to tap through the top 50? And
again, elite main draw players. You are not that.
This is actually crazy as I'm tapping. I haven't tapped through all of them, but I think the average height's got to be like 6 to 6'1". Just some of these names, I'm like, oh my gosh, all
and
these
now
people
I get
are so
it.
tall.
Look, this is gonna be heavily skewed in your favor. I know a lot of people are gonna disagree with me on this. I'm well aware of that.
I think if you really boil it down, I think there's definitely going to be a sweet spot.
You were going to turn your sarcastic side off.
Well,
right?
I had to bring it back for a minute.
You have to agree somewhat with what I said.
Yeah. I think
on the amateur side, it does not affect people just cannot take advantage of height nearly as much as, again, the elite people. A lot of them
I'd have to really think about that one. I actually don't. Actually, I think it'd be one of those things where it's probably the same advantages as, well, also probably depends how low of a level you go. Like, I think the advantage is always there no matter what. You just obviously wouldn't be as good at it as the elite person. Like, someone who is 6'5" in a 3-5 tournament, they could still have a better serve, but whether they've practiced that serve or not, right, is another question. Like, maybe the serve's a weapon, maybe it's not.
That's why I think it doesn't matter as much as people say it does.
You know what? Let's do this. If you made it this far, it's not a question this time. It's not a question. What I want you to let me know is, what is your height, and do you think it's an advantage?
Oh, is that the word? You mean the word?
That is the word of the week. Let me know your height.
Just say your height,
and let me know if you think it's an advantage. Because I bet you we're going to see a pattern. I'm calling it right now for next week. If we get enough of these comments, everyone's 6 foot and above, they're going to say, nah, not an advantage.
How many of these people on here though are lying about their height?
Look, I'll give them plus or minus 2 inches.
A lot of people in the MLB, they just did this ABS strike calling system where they had to measure all the players exactly to get their profiles right for this. And a lot of them are getting like 2 inches shaved off the height. A lot of them were shorter than they were all saying.
We'll subtract 2 inches from everyone who comments, just in case they're lying.
I'm not even talking about the commenters. I'm talking about the pros.
Sure.
But yeah.
I see what you're saying. Like, well, we'll start measuring them. Go to a tournament, tape measure. Hey, I got to know how tall you are for a podcast.
That'd be an interesting series.
Yeah, it would.
But yeah, that does it.
That'll do it. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back next week with another pod. Peace.